Welcome to the first episode of the Hockey Talk podcast presented by Horizon Media. I'm Jacob Fraser and I'll be hosting this episode. Today I'm joined by Keanen Tregaskis, aka the Greek Freak, and Spencer Pomeroy, aka Big Sexy. How's it going, boys?
I love that name, Big Sexy. You know Bartolo Colon?
Of course.
Yeah, he was Big Sexy. It's an honor to be here.
It's an honor to be here as well. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, so today we're just going to get into some wildcard talk. Obviously, the race has been heating up lately. We've got about 15 games to go for some teams. Some teams have even less than that. So I guess we'll just start off by making our predictions. Who do you guys think is going to make a push and find themselves in the playoffs this year? I'll start with Keanen.
Well, we'll start in the East. Let's go. I think Ottawa's taking that first seed. They've just been red hot since the trade deadline. Dylan Cousins has helped them out a lot. And even just having Zetterlund in the bottom six there. I think he's playing the fourth line right now, but even that, you got that on your fourth line. The offense is just very deep with them right now. And you got Linus Ullmark in that. I don't see how they fumble a 5-point lead with games in hand over the New York Rangers, who are right on the outside.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going with the Senators too. The Senators to me are always a fun team. I think they're my second favorite Canadian team. I don't know. They've always had, Heatley, Alfredson, Spezza. Now they got Kachuk, Stützle, just, fun guys to watch. Looking at their stats, a hot team last 10 games. They're getting scoring from, all three lines. Pinto and Amadio, 5 goals each in the last 10. Kachuk, he's always solid, 7 goals in his last 10. This is a solid lineup. And, if they get goaltending too, they're a team who could make a run in the playoffs.
Yeah, I guess we're going to clean sweep here for the Senators for that first wild card spot in the East, because I'm going them as well. I mean, just like what a treat it would be to see Brady Tkachuk finally in the playoffs. We've seen what Matthew can do, and I don't think it's a crazy take to say that Brady might be the better player. So to see him just get that opportunity and see what he can do in that kind of environment, I think we all know that Brady's very capable of being a good, impactful player in the playoffs. And so it would just be such a treat to see him. And Tim Stützle, Spencer, you mentioned him. Not sure his dives around the ice are going to save him in the playoffs. Refs are calling things a little tighter there.
The Kachuk brothers playing in the first round would be wild too.
Well, just think of like the Four Nations when Brady Tkachuk was there. That's must-watch TV. He's flying around there.
Or he's throwing fists.
Well,
right
who doesn't
away.
love that? Yeah. Who doesn't love throwing fists?
Yeah, so then I guess they would take on the Florida Panthers as of right now. So yeah, we would get to see that Tkachuk matchup, assuming Matthew's back and ready to go by game 1. Could you guys see a
people might
Tkachuk
die on
versus
the ice
Tkachuk fight?
if that's happening?
Yeah.
The Kachucks are fighting each other, bodies are flying, glasses breaking, people in the stands are running onto the ice like this is a fucking riot.
You're gonna get the Keith Tkachuk cam on Sportsnet all game. That'd be a treat to watch.
Just in the top corner, just have him there full time. Get him.
What do you think he'll be? What do you think he'll be wearing? He's not wearing a jersey.
A jersey? No, I think he's a Brady guy. I don't know. I just got
really. You think he cheers Brady?
I think he's a Brady guy.
Just won the Stanley Cup though, too.
That's fair.
But I don't know. I think Brady's more similar to how he played. I mean, they're both aggressive players. Maybe just because he's a bit chubbier, but I don't know.
All right. Well, let's move on to that number 2 spot here. Keanen, who do you got sneaking in? Obviously, it's a really tight race right now. You can go Canadians, Rangers, Islanders, even the Blue Jackets, Red Wings. Like, there's so many teams in that race there. So who are you taking?
I hate to say it, but I think it's the Rangers. They've got just the veteran presence really helps them, especially over the Canadians, who they're right behind right now in the standings. The only thing they have going against them right now is, well, they've got some crappy losses the last couple of nights, but they don't have games in hand. But the Canadians can go ice cold just like that, and that, like, I don't want to say it will happen. I'd rather see the Canadians in it, but I think it's just the Rangers. I think that veteran presence just shows up down the stretch. They've done this before. They were the President's Trophy winner last year, I think. So they've obviously been there. They know how to get it done. Yeah. Hate to say it, but I think it's going to happen.
Whoa, let's go Rangers. Just so I can hear that song in the playoffs. How about, you know what? I'm staying in New York. I'm going with the Islanders, Long Island. We're saying not who we want. This is who we think gets in. And this is one of those teams that, I hate watching the Islanders play. Such a boring style. They don't have any stars. Bo Horvat, maybe, I guess. But I just see them being this sneaky team that squeaks in, and no one really has their eyes on them. They're a 4-line team. If they can get Dobson a bit better play out of him turn around. He's been better lately, but they could ride Sorokin into the playoffs here. I mean, they're right in the thick of it with everyone else, and it's a team that they usually don't do anything in the playoffs. But just the way this league works, obviously we want the Canadians and them in, but we never get what we want. So I just see how these Islanders somehow they're going to sneak in.
What's Lou's policy on playoff beards? Does he allow the boys to grow those, or
I don't know. Maybe he's going to take the Yankees route. They just ditched all their policies, so I don't know.
I'd rather watch paint dry than another Islanders playoff game, honestly.
Long Island does get buzzing though in the playoffs. That
doesn't mean that the on ice performance turns it up. They'd rather pass the puck in their own end for 40 minutes instead of shoot it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with Keanen. I'm also going Rangers. It's a little bit boring that we have the same top two in the East here, but like you said, they've just got that experience. I mean, right now you're looking at their lineup: Vincent Trocheck, Panarin, and Cooley on that top line, and then Miller, Lafreniere, Mika Zibanejad on that second line. That's got to be one of the best top sixes in the league, and they've struggled all year, but they're gonna find that last bit of gas and make their way into the playoffs. And also don't forget, obviously, Igor Shesterkin is an unbelievable goalie who can win you a few games and get you there himself. So yeah, I'm gonna have to say Rangers take it, but all of us in the state of New York there, bit crazy.
All of us?
All three of us.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. I thought
you have to excuse our friend. He's a little slow.
No, we got the same. I got the Canadians right on the outside. I'd love to see them make it. I think they could, because the Rangers, just those brutal losses right now. Like, they put up 13 shots on a Flames team that was on the second night of a back-to-back.
Yeah.
They could easily just fold these last 12, 13 games, however many they have left. But yeah, it's a boring pick, but usually boring is correct when you're talking about who makes the playoffs.
If we wanted to get really hot, I could say the Buffalo Sabres are going to make it. But...
Hey. That's too much. This is
we want to be a credible show.
All right, let's move over to the West here. Again, I'm thinking we're likely going to be the same for that number one spot. It seems pretty locked up here. I'll start it off. Minnesota Wild take it.
Shock.
Goaltending is really good. Philip Gustafson's been great this year. Obviously, they're not with their star forward Kirill Kaprizov, but they're not dropping out of that number one wild card spot, I don't think. But I also don't think that they're going to move up ahead of Colorado again. So I assume you guys agree. But Spencer, where are you leaning here?
This thought just came into my head right now. I think the Wild, they're the Islanders of the West. It's a team, besides Kaprizov, however you say it, besides him, they, Matt Boldy's a good player, but they're kind of like a boring team to watch. It's not that New York's a small market, but Minnesota, doesn't get much screen time here. But they're a solid lineup up and down. 3 really good defensemen. Faber, Middleton, and Spurgeon, and then they got a pretty good tandem in net. So the lead they have too now, I just don't see how this team falters down the stretch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've been struggling a lot lately, but so has literally every other team behind them in this wild card race. They could keep doing what they're doing, winning every 5th game, and they probably keep that top seed in the wild card race.
Yeah, and now let's move on to the number 2 spot. So obviously, we're all from Vancouver. Canucks currently have that number 2 wild card spot, but Spencer, Are the Canucks staying in, or is another team going to take their place?
I've watched the Canucks falter way too many leads this season, and when they start to play a good game, like the last game, it gives you a bit of hope. But when have they strung any wins together this season? Not at all. I'm taking St. Louis Blues. They're repeat of 2019 maybe. This, if you look at the strength of schedule, they have the easiest remaining schedule left. They're gonna play the Blackhawks, Predators twice, Kraken, Penguins, Utah. They have a couple tough games, but it's a pretty light schedule. And in terms of the standings, they're tied, with the Canucks, but they've played another game. Kind of a sleeper team too. They're pretty solid defensive core, deep core, and then a couple good goalies, Hofer, and Binnington. So I think I think they're going to do enough to get in. I trust this team more than I do the Canucks.
Yeah,
Keanen, where are you leaning?
I'm in the same boat there. Especially when you look at Vancouver, you can't hold a lead, you can't make a comeback, and then you look at St. Louis, they're 9-2-2 since the Four Nations break. Like Spencer said, easiest schedule going forward. I don't see how you fumble this. I really don't. Like they could. I don't think they will, but they probably have the best chance to jump the Wild out of these three teams kind of on that bubble, four if you include Utah. But yeah, just that easy schedule. Thursday night's obviously going to make a huge difference because Vancouver would still have a game in hand, assuming Vancouver wins that. And then that could change things, but I don't see it changing that much. I still think St. Louis in that very easy schedule and a very red hot team right now takes that last spot, just sneaks right in.
Yeah, I was gonna say this second line. Looking at it, Holloway, Shen, and Kyrou. They're the last 10 games. They're playing well together. They're almost Holloway's 12 points, Shen 9, and Kyrou 11. So this second line is really clicking for them.
So I'm going to go a little bit of a different direction here. I'm going with the Utah Hockey Club. I think this new team, they want to get the fan base excited for a playoff run, and not to say that they're actually going to go on a playoff run, but I think they squeeze in. They've got a really good young team. I mean, you're looking at their lines right now. They got Alex Kerfoot as the number one center. Obviously not a great look there, but guys like Logan Cooley, Clayton Keller, Dylan Gunther, like these are good young players that I think have the juice to finish off the season strong. And then you look at their decor, Sergachev, picking him up. I really like Kesselring on their third D pairing. And then you got Vejmelka and net. I think they've got a really solid team that can get into the playoffs here. They're only 4 points back from the Canucks and Blues. So yeah, I'm going to pick the Utah Hockey Club. Don't think they're going to really make a ton of noise in the playoffs necessarily, especially since they'd be taking on the Winnipeg Jets. But yeah, I think they've got a real shot at making the playoffs in their first year in Utah. Sorry, go ahead, Spencer.
I was just gonna say, I think the Mormons are really gonna love that pick. I mean, I've watched some Utah games. There's some impressive games, but most of the time, for me, it's a pretty uninspiring team to watch.
That's what you get with a young team, though. Young core, lots of flash, no sizzle. Lots of sizzle, no sear. Sorry.
I was just trying to look up too. A guy I really liked last year was that a Michelli guy.
Mhm.
I guess he's stuck down in the minors right now. I don't see an injury
Is he hurt?
designation for him.
No?
Maybe, but I don't know. Maybe this season, 52 games, 8 goals, 10 assists. I want to say last season he was a lot more productive player. At least with he passed my eye test.
Last
Yeah.
year, 17 goals, 40 assists.
Yeah,
So
I thought last year he was an impressive player.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I really liked what I saw out of him last year. But yeah, obviously just having a bit of a down year. He's still a young player though. I'm sure he'll be able to figure things out. Maybe a change of scenery in the
24,
offseason.
Turku, Finland. They've had some good players out of there.
100%. So if you guys are all right, let's move on. I was saying before the show, let's pick one team from these wildcard spots that you think can actually go on a run in the playoffs and poses a real threat to win the Stanley Cup. I'll start with Spencer. Who of your 4 wildcard teams can actually get the job done and lift the cup at the end in June?
I think I'm going to go with the Wild. I just think that this team they've been due forever to make a deeper run. They're usually a pretty well coached team. If they can get Kaprizov back, he was easily the Hart favorite when he was healthy for them. Huge difference maker. But if they can get him back and he's playing at 100% out of the teams left, I mean, in terms of full roster construction, I like theirs the best. Great 1-2 punch in net, solid D depth, and the forwards, not much, I would say, scoring there, but it's a grinder team that's going to grind all four lines on you.
Keanen, who do you have?
Yeah, to quickly add on to Spencer, I think that really relies on if Kaprizov does come back for
solely
the
on that purpose.
Yeah,
solely on that. Yeah,
totally on that. If they don't have him, they'll just do what they're doing now. I got to go the Ottawa Senators. This forward core it's so deep right now. Dylan Cousins has came over and has just improved his game. Shock! Everyone does that when they leave Buffalo. Like him specifically, he's gotten very physical, which is the Ottawa way to do it, which was his biggest critique when he was in Buffalo. That's obviously helping his game. Linus Ullmark, he's been there before, sure. It wasn't the greatest stretch when he was with Boston, but you got that bit of experience there. If you're going to make an upset, you need a proven goalie. Defense is okay. Analytically, they look good, but on the eye test, when I see them, they give off a lot of chances off the rush. So take what you will with that, but they can get the job done when they need to. For me, it really comes down to that forward depth. Depth in general is what you need for a deep playoff run. I said it earlier, you got Zetterlund on the fourth line. If you're going into the playoffs with that, you're in a good situation, no matter what logo is on your chest.
I'll add one thing. Yeah, I like the Zetterlund pickup they did. I thought he was kind of underrated player on San Jose. But my question for you is, which former Canuck has a more of a playoff impact, Highmore or the hockey god, Gaudette?
Gaudette and his random tip-ins every here and there.
You're going Gaudette?
Like,
okay.
Almost 20 goals a season. No, I don't know.
Travis Green seems to love bringing those mediocre Canucks over with them and just turning them into stars.
Oh, yeah. All right, Jacob, who do you have then?
I've got the New York Rangers. I talked a bit about this when I was making them my Wildcard 2 pick. I mean, their top six is one of the best in the league. I think that gets it done, but you got Chris Kreider on your third line. That fourth line is pretty questionable. I mean, not sure Matt Rempe really moves the needle for me, but maybe he's more of a playoff guy anyways because he's that big physical presence. But just in net, Igor Shesterkin, like Keanen said, you need a proven goalie. He's maybe the most proven out of all the wild card teams. Like, he's obviously a legit top 3 goalie in the NHL. Maybe not this season, but in past seasons he has been. So I'm going to say the New York Rangers. I won't say I really like this team, but I think they're the best suited to go on a deeper run in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's fair. Boring pick because New York, but
it's
whatever.
a good pick. Like for the NHL, though, I mean, it'd be great if the Rangers were in the final. They're a huge market, but yeah, I used to, like the Rangers until they made that Miller deal. So now I hope they burn and crash. But they got, I've always been a big Zibanejad fan. He was always fun to watch. I love, you have those YouTube videos you randomly turn on. I have his 5-goal game. And he scores a winner in overtime, and just the way the announcer is in that game, I don't know, every few months I turn that on, those highlights.
Yeah, I mean, they are wild card teams, though, so any kind of run from any of them is a little, as the title says, wild. But, yeah.
I mean, it's the second season. It's completely different than the regular season, as you've seen.
Pretty much, yeah.
The existence of the NHL, so it's a completely different game, yeah.
One of the teams we didn't bring up is the St. Louis Blues. Both of you had them as the Wildcard 2 spot. Could we see a repeat from 2019, or do you think that's too far-fetched? Keenan, all right. No, right off the bat. My bad.
What a dumb question. This team they don't look that like they're just flat right now. Like, yeah, they're winning games, but like we said, it's an easy schedule. They're gonna run into a very dominant Gents team right now, assuming they take that wild card 2 spot. It just doesn't look good for them. Like, they got a lot in their way. If they beat the Jets, they then got to run through Colorado or Dallas. Like, they've got the toughest schedule. Whoever takes that second seed has the toughest schedule of a wild card team. So it's just very tough for them. I don't see them winning 2 games, honestly.
You know why I like the Wild too? So far this season on the road, 22-10-3. They are road dogs this season. But yeah, in terms of the Blues, it's just the path for them is super tough. So I just don't see it. It's, solid hockey team, but I don't know. 7-2-1. Maybe they carry it on, but
this is kind of a similar, not as big of a hot streak that they went on in 2019, but I just think like Jordan Binnington in the net, we saw what he did at Four Nations. He can carry that team to a couple wins, maybe sneak them through a couple rounds, who knows. But yeah, I didn't even have them making the playoffs, so I'm not going to make too much of an argument here.
Just argues for them for a cup run.
Maybe it gets hot. It happens. Rolly the goalie. Does, yeah. Remember Dwayne Rollison with the Oilers? Cam Ward on the Hurricanes. Did he ever carry them?
Rolly.
Shout out Rolly, yeah.
He's a coach of mine growing up. I love him. Yeah.
Rolly the goalie.
A beauty.
Yeah, there's still like 12, 15 games left. One team gets hot, they go in on like a 10-2 run these next 12 games. You just go into the playoffs bumping.
Yeah, exactly.
Take a road game.
It works away. Like that too, though. Like you go into the playoffs hot, that's one thing. But also for teams who go in cold, it's a good reset for them. Say, hey, this is a brand new season. Some teams, they go in ice cold, and then all of a sudden, they flip the switch and they're on. It's hard to do, but
yeah,
there's 2 ways to look at it. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, especially you get a couple of days off, get a little healthier. Someone comes back.
Yeah.
It changes everything. But
anywho.
All right. Well, we'll shift over here to some award predictions. So this isn't necessarily who you think is going to win the Hart Trophy, the Vezina, the Calder, and the Norris, but it's who you'd like to see win that award. Obviously, they need to have a case for it. You can't pick Jonathan Lekkerimäki to win the Calder, or Brock Besser to win the Hart Trophy. But I'll start with Keanen. Who's your pick you'd like to see win the Hart Trophy?
Who I'd like to see win the Hart Trophy, Connor Hellebuyck. He's really just elevated the Jets as a whole. He's just been consistent. Every year, everyone's like, the Jets are going to fall off. Hellebuyck stands on his head. The offense keeps it together. And all of a sudden, we're in the middle of March, and he's got 6-7 shutouts, sub-2 goals allowed. Just does it consistently. I think he really elevates the team. You put in an average goaltender, and they're probably in that wild card race right now.
That's fair. I mean, I don't have Hellebuyck, but I definitely see that point. He obviously is the heart and soul of that Jets team. They have a great team around him, don't get me wrong, but 100% he is that team's MVP, and they're having a great year. So, Spencer, who are you going here?
For the Hart, I originally, thought it was Leon clear cut. I get the Hellebuyck case. Maybe it's just because of recency bias. Didn't play well last night or the night before, but I, kind of sleeper here, I think, is Kucherov on the Lightning. He's, 95 points. He's played 5 less games in Draisaitl. When he's out of the lineup for them, they're a different team. He's one of the, I don't want to call him underrated. Obviously, everyone knows who he is, but at least in our lifetimes, in my lifetimes, he's got to be one of the best, best players we've seen. He's just up against guys like, McDavid and McKinnon and that, but I'd like to see if Kucherov, I'd like to see him win it. He's, one of my favorite players. But obviously Draisaitl's got way more goals than him, and he's proven he can do it without McDavid in the lineup. So
yeah, that's totally fair. I mean, you mentioned him being not underrated, but kind of just overshadowed, like you said, by McKinnon and McDavid. Definitely, like, I'd say he's for sure underappreciated by
Mhm.
hockey fans. I mean, how many points did he have last year? Like over 140 or something.
Well, he had 100 assists too.
Yeah, exactly. And everybody was talking about McDavid's 100 assist season, and nobody seemed to really care when Kucherov did it like two
Yeah.
games later. So
Yeah, 100 assists last season. Yeah.
If you ain't first, you're last.
all right, I'll get into mine here. This might be a little bit of bias. Hate to show any Canucks bias on the show because we do talk about the entirety of the NHL. None of us had the Canucks making the playoffs, but if they do make the playoffs, I think there's a really strong case for Quinn Hughes to win the Hart Trophy. Obviously, he's leading the team in points. I don't think another forward on the Canucks has even close to as many points as Hughes has. Let me pull up the stats here because I can't remember what the gap is, but I remember it being something absolutely insane. If this Canucks
22.
website,
He's got 22 more points than Elias Pettersson.
thank you.
Who's
And
the second
Pettersson
on
has the second one.
43.
That's crazy.
Pettersson has 43. Hughes has 65.
Yeah, and Hughes has missed time. And we saw what the Canucks looked like without him. They look like a completely different team. Obviously, Philip Hronek picked up the play a little bit, but this team is going nowhere without Quinn Hughes. If they lose him in a couple of years, they're going to have to do the, God forbid, rebuild that Aquilini will never allow. But yeah, I'd say if the Canucks find their way into a playoff spot, Quinn Hughes is definitely getting some Norris votes, and I'd love to see it. Or, sorry, some Hart votes, and I'd love to see him win it.
Yeah, and I think for the Hart, it's always the debate most valuable player and that not necessarily the best player. And you can look at the value of him when he's not in the lineup, they struggle. But if you look at Draisaitl, when McDavid's not in the lineup, he almost plays better. So, that's kind of the value to the team. Obviously, Draisaitl's valuable, but in terms of when you have that huge drop off when one player leaves the lineup, that just shows the immense value that Quinn Hughes has, and which sucks because why does he want to stick? Topic for another day. Why is he going to want to stick around?
Yeah, 100%. Okay, let's move over to the Norris Trophy. I can start us off. I picked Quinn Hughes for Hart. I'm not taking him to win the Norris. I've got Cale Makar. I guess I didn't really follow the rules that I set with who I'd like to see win it, but I just think it's Cale Makar. He's got the most points. I think the Erik Karlsson Norris Trophy a couple of years ago when he put up 100 points, it kind of showed that points are overvalued to this award. A player that I would love to see win it actually is Jacob Slavin of the Carolina Hurricanes. I think he's an incredibly underrated defenseman. I think it was Paul Bissonnette on some podcast said the Carolina Hurricanes don't have a legit number one defenseman. Jacob Slavin is a legit number one defenseman on any team other than the Vancouver Canucks, Colorado Avalanche, and I guess now the Columbus Blue Jackets with how Zach Werenski's been playing. But Jacob Slavin, I'm changing my pick as I say this. Jacob Slavin's my pick. I'd love to see him win the Norris.
Speaking of the Blue Jackets there, I've got Zach Werenski, however the hell you pronounce his name.
Mike Wazowski.
Like Don Cherry over here. No, I've got him. Similarly to Hughes, obviously they're not that comparable. Hughes and Makar are like 1A and 1B in the league, depending on what team you favor more. But Zach Werenski has just been amazing offensively and defensively for the Columbus Blue Jackets, really helping them in their wild card push. And they were in that spot for a while. A lot of it thanks to him and the young forward core they've assembled. But he really deserves some votes. I think he'll get some. I'd love to see him win this award, although I do have to say I don't think it will happen.
Yeah, I'll go back to this Jacob Slavin thing. I think at the he got some good screen time at the Four Nations where a lot of casuals really got to see his game on display, playing in Carolina. It's not on TV here much, but I always knew he was a good player, but like really watching him play, for the US, well, he's a defenseman I would not want to play against. I'm going Werenski too, mostly because I kind of have the Makar Hughes fatigue. And it's who I want to win. Well, he's playing 27 minutes a game right now. He's almost playing half the game. And he's right up there with Makar in points. He's only got Makar's on 78, Werenski's on 69. Nice. So, and he's got 2 games in hand. Looking at the numbers though, Makar is more of a difference maker, better plus minus by a lot, lays the body more. You think Werenski, Keanen, you're saying on the defense, he's only got 15 hits on the season. So he's a shot blocking cowboy though. But 20 goals out of the defenseman, and he's still got 15 whatever games left. I'd like to see him win it, and there's still time where maybe Makar slows down a bit and Werenski gets hot, and then he could take it.
100%. Let's move over now to the Calder Trophy, otherwise known as the Rookie of the Year. Keanen, I think I know where you're gonna go here, but tell us your pick.
Yeah, Dustin Wolf.
Really? Okay, that's not what I was thinking.
No, I knew that, and then Spencer howled, so I wasn't gonna chirp you there. No, I'd love to see Lane Hutson win it as well, but I think Dustin Wolf is just doing that much more for the Calgary Flames than Hutson is for the Canadiens, simply because both of them were supposed to be bottom feeders, but the Calgary Flames have nothing on that roster. Obviously, Huberdeau has somehow become a little productive again this year, but Dustin Wolf is almost dragging them into the playoffs. Whereas you look at Montreal, that top line has been one of the best, if not the best, in the league this year. They've got scoring depth now that Line is there. And I think in terms of overall value to the team, Dustin Wolf is giving more to the Flames than Hutson is to the Canadiens. Not to take away from Hutson at all. I'd love to see him win it as well. But I think I'd just love to see Wolf win it a little more. Get some goalie recognition, some goalie love here for the one star of the Calgary Flames, bringing some media attention to them.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. Wolf is my pick as well. I think a lot of people have been having this debate online. Is it Hutson? Is it Celebrini? Not a ton of people are giving the respect that Dustin Wolf has deserved. Like you said, he's dragging this Flames team that was expected to be likely picking in the top 10, probably in the top 5. And now, they saw what he can do, and they made a couple moves to bring in Farabee and Frost. They've got Rasmus Anderson and Mackenzie Weegar on the back end. They've got some pieces, but Dustin Wolf is single-handedly carrying this team with a little bit of help. He's getting a little bit of a push from those guys, but he's lugging most of the weight across the line here to hopefully get into the playoffs for the Calgary Flames.
Mm-hmm. Spencer, you're going to give us a clean sweep here?
You know what? I really want to, and if you told me at the end of the season the Flames made the playoffs on the back of Wolf, then I think it's a no-brainer. But if we're calling it right now, I think it's Lane Hutson pretty easily, even comparing him to Celebrini. Hudson's playing over 22 minutes a game. Only 5 goals, but he's been a bit of a wizard on the back end setting it up. And he's not a defenseman. That's not his style. So, his plus minus takes a hit, but he's kind of like playing quarterback back on that defense. And I think he's got a bright future, and he's had a great season. And, I wanted to go Wolf, but it's just hard for goalies to win that award.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Patrick Laine called Lane Hutson the best power play quarterback he's seen. And that guy's been here for almost 10 years in the league now. Drafted in 2016, right? 2017, 2016?
2016, yeah.
Nor my lack of hockey knowledge.
All he does is grind Fortnite, though. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Hey, he's turned around their power play, though. Call him a power play merchant all you want. They're almost in the playoffs.
We'll move on to the Vezina. So I saved this one for last just because I thought this was going to be the most boring one.
Spencer's going to throw us a curveball here. You want to start off?
You guys make your case, and then I'll make mine.
Not really a case needed here. I'll start it off. Connor Hellebuck. Keanen gave him the heart. He's probably going to get heart votes. He's the Vezina favorite right now. I mean, you look at his numbers. 205 goals against average. Can't really beat that. He leads the league in that. Leads the league in save percentage with the 924. Leads the league in shutouts with 6. It's hard to give it to anyone else other than Connor Hellebuck. But Keanen, if you don't have anything to add, I'd like to hear what Spencer has to say.
No, he hasn't had a shutout since early January too. So there's a another world where he's got like 10 or 12 at this point, but just slowed down in that aspect. But that doesn't change anything. He is winning the Vezina. I almost called it the Helibuck.
Maybe it will be in a few
Maybe
years.
they'll rename it soon. Yeah. God, these Lightning guys, they don't get much attention, just because they're in Tampa. But
Hey, they won back-to-back cups. They got lots of attention.
they do. But I mean, looking at, I saw Vasilevsky play live here a couple years ago. I've seen Canucks play Tommy Salo, if you remember him on the Oilers. I've seen a lot of great goalies play. He was the best goalie I've ever seen play. Unbelievable, like just puck tracking, how quick he was. And even look at his numbers this season compared to Hellebuck. Same amount of games. Save percentage is almost identical, 924 and 920. Goals against is close, 205, 224. Hellebuck's got one more shutout. But in terms of like quality in front of them, obviously Tampa's got a better forward group. But I mean, if you look at the Lightning defense, it's less to be desired. Like JJ Moser on the top line with Hedman, an old Ryan McDonough with Cernak in the middle, and then honestly the third pair, Perbix and Lilberg. I don't know if Keanen, you know who those guys are, but he's facing a lot of shots and not much help in front of him. But yeah, it's hard. Obviously Hellebuck's going to win this award, but I think Vasilevsky's, like I said with Kucherov, he's not underrated, maybe a little underappreciated, one of the better goalies of our time. And he, Hellebuck's got 7 more wins, but in terms of looking at the numbers, they're pretty close together. This could be a hey, if they want to this one, Vezina, I would be on board.
Might as well Calder as well then, Hudson and Wolf. Yeah. There you go.
I mean, that's cool and all. He'll be a finalist, but I don't see how Hellebuck loses this award. I also, I mean, this is also, I want to see Hellebuck win. You want to see Vasilevsky
I want to see Vasilevsky win, but he won't. I mean, the odds, minus 20,000 for Hellebuck to win, that's, no one's touching that. Yeah. And I was going to say, what happened? I know you were big, speaking of the Calder earlier, you were big on Michkov, Keanen. I'm not sure what happened to him.
He's kind of, his play's kind of slowed down a bit. Torts probably doesn't like him.
Yeah.
Maybe didn't give 110% in practice one day 3 months ago, so his numbers are hurting because of that.
He started hot, though. Yeah.
He did. He started really hot. If he would, any other coach, maybe aside from the Ducks coach, he's probably putting up more points than he is right now. He still has a strong case. I just think the other twos are stronger, especially considering they could make the playoffs. Philly's a little too far on the outside.
You know what? I kind of like that coaching style, but then when I remember a year or two ago, I had Konechny in fantasy, and they were just sitting him. He was his goal scorer, scoring for them, but they didn't like his game, so they were benching him. It's just frustrating on that part, but that's personal. Anyway, getting off topic here.
No, that's all right. I did want to say, didn't get the chance to, but I was going to tell Spencer to put the fries in the bag when he's making his Vasilevsky case.
I don't know. If you get a chance to see him play live, that's a must-watch goalie. Just watch him.
You could say the exact same thing for Hellebuck, though. Like, if that's your argument, I'll just use the same thing against you.
Hellebuck's, a big guy. So is Vasilevsky. But there's a few guys in this league where, they say like Crosby, you go to the game, just watch him the whole time, even when he's on the bench. Like, it's, there's not many players like that.
I will say, whenever I'm watching a Winnipeg Jets and Tampa Bay Lightning game, I'm wondering how a team's going to get one by either of those guys. Mm-hmm. Like, they're both, I mean...
Except for last night.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even like a couple of those goals weren't on him. They were...
Well, and he still made some crazy saves here and there, too.
If you're in the playoffs, who do you trust more, Hellebuck or Vasilevsky?
Oh, I trust Vasilevsky.
Vasilevsky, he's got it done. 3 straight Stanley Cup. Okay, but this Vezina is a regular season award.
I know. Just for the sake of argument, though.
Well, they won back-to-back Stanley Cups 4 years ago. I got to put Vasilevsky number 1. Probably losing my voter rights.
Anywho.
All right. Well, we'll end things off there. Thank you for listening to the Hockey Talk episode, our first episode of Hockey Talk. Thank you to Spencer and Keanen for joining us today, the Greek Freak and Big Sexy, and we'll be back with you next week.
I just thought that we could name this the Hockey Talk Badonkadonk. Who's that singer?
That's why we call him Big Sexy.
God, I can't remember his name now, but it'll come to me after we end. It'll come to me. The Hockey Talk Badonkadonk.
All right, well,
Anywho.
that's where we'll end it off. So thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.